there, humans, hippies, earthlings, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. Welcome back to channel. I'm Bushka, and if you haven't gathered already, it's a video about the 62A. Now, why is it a video about the 62A? Because bloody hell, I like driving the 62A, and that's pretty much all there is to it. There is a zing attached to this tank for me, and if you know what I'm talking about, give me a hey yo in the chat, baby, because this is the tank I drove back in the day when there was a real Jones for World of Tanks Blitz. It's the tank that a lot of that nostalgic excitement and camaraderie and spirit is attached to. The 62A is a tank that I used to run with my boy Snake Eyes all the time with. Ouija, Aegon, all the guys, you know, Swiss Cheezel, Chepos. This is a tank that represents one of the finest and most enjoyable video gaming periods of my life. And it was a tank that represents kind of like the Comet, a coming of age for me in terms of my career. I wanted to become a YouTuber. And I didn't tell everyone, but I really, really wanted to become a YouTuber. And this was a big part of it, driving this tank and trying to do well in it. But more than that, it's a tank that I think needs a bit of love, because there are so many tanks at the moment at tier 10 that are deemed superior to the little old 62A. And I can understand why, because there are, in fact, some exceptionally good tier 10 meds. Tanks that really suit the current meta and that work very, very well in tournaments particularly, and public games. I'm speaking, of course, about tanks like the E50M, the M48A1 Patton, and if you want to go stretching that even further, tanks like the T-62 Medium, the 121B, and the AMX-30B, Object 140 as well. These are the kind of tanks that really do well. Now, the 62A is exceptionally capable. It's a tank that doesn't really get the credit it deserves. And the reason I say it's exceptionally capable is this is the tank with the best gun at tier 10, in my opinion. You might call me crazy, but hear me out on this one. The 50M, the Leopard 1, the 62A, they all have .272 dispersion guns, right? But you also have the best aim time of any of the tier 10 mediums on this tank. Your aim time, even running refined gun instead of vertical stabilizer, is still better than the Object 140s, for instance. And while doing that, if you run the refined gun on the 62A, you get just an elite level marksman tank. It's .258 dispersion. Woof woof! The Conway's been giving me some crap there. Sit down, Conway. And you want me to be your dog? I'll bark for you, baby. And I don't know why. Like, at least you get to see that this is really happening. I don't make this stuff up. It just pops into my head. The other thing is the DPM. It's got legitimately high level DPM. Much better than the 50Ms and the AMX-30B, those kind of guys. Well, it's 10%, 11% better than the 50Ms. And it's about 15% better than the 30Bs. Now, obviously, they have a bigger dose of alpha, so there's swings and roundabouts here. But, I mean, this is a very low-slung tier 10 medium with excellent mobility, incredibly good DPM, a laser beam for a weapon, and very good camouflage and a strong turret. And yet, it used to be that you would see nothing but 62As and Object 140s at tier 10. And the Object 140 is still relatively popular, but the 62A has taken a huge step backwards. It's a tank that really doesn't get the kudos it deserves these days. Now, to show you exactly why I love it so much, I'm going to show you this game I had. Basically, I can't remember. I think this is just before I left for LA, actually. And I've been playing a lot more Blitz of late. I've really come to enjoy playing my own account again. Despite the YOLOing, I've been pumping around on the Bushka account on the Asia server, which is a lot of fun. Now, a couple of things about this map in particular. There's a bunch of spots that I find useful on this map from this side. This is one of them. And I'm going to fire off a round at the start. It's less about doing damage with this shell and more about seeing if when I fire, if I'm spotted. If I'm not spotted, then it gives me a little bit of information and tells me that, well, there's no one spotting that area there just yet, and there's no TDs that have moved up quick enough. I see down on the left-hand side of the screen there that there's a couple of movers and shakers heading towards the urban area. We've got that old rural urban concentration going on. They've had enough of the fields and the farms. They want to get into the bright lights in the big city, and there's a leopard. Excellent. So we know where their medium de jour is. We know that there's a bunch of tanks down there. It's highly likely to me that the majority of their red team has gone sipping off to town. Now, I'm going to keep that rock between me and the last known position of that Leopard 1, and indeed any TDs that are over on the right-hand side, and without having any gun depression, I'm going to climb up this little incline and get shots over that left-hand drive wheel without being visible. And I also don't get spotted because that Leopard doesn't have a line of sight on me, and anyone over there in those trees doesn't have a line of sight on me either. So this is really leveraging and exploiting game mechanics to farm damage. There's no other way around it. I mean, you can see this is a great tank when you give it time on target, and it's Viper-like in its ability to just crush if you let it tip away at you. There's big tanks out there, like 150mm, 180mm, 170mm guns, but this thing manages to deliver the payload a tiny little snip at a time. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, but it'll still kill you if you give it enough time on target. Now, the E3 has popped here, and that's the tank that I've been looking for. I'm not sure where he was. He's been moseying around at the back of the map, and you're going to see me get some speed going down the hill, and then I'm going to basically go S all the way up the top. S, I mean, you can see the S shape that I'm turning there, and as he traverses slowly across, we wrong foot him, get around behind him, and with my mate the Grill, who makes a very, very good move here, we are now pumping and thumping at the back. Despite the fact that we've had fairly good shots on the side, we are bleeding amigos from the town area. And this is a big area here. The Badger, I'm not sure where the Badger is looking, and I should reset camo before I poke, but I'm worried that he's going to actually disappear and reset his camo and I'll miss a side shot. Unfortunately for me, that Badger was just tunneling down here, waiting for me to appear from behind the E3, and that's a bunch of hit points I shouldn't have really bled. That's what they call bleeding when you're playing in tournaments. Don't bleed, RH. Don't bleed. All that bleeding goes to nowhere. Now, this is a really interesting little section. The Grill could stay here and let me make the running. We've got plenty of time. We've got 3 minutes 40 left on the clock. But what happens is the Grill sees a bat chat that's a one shot over there. Now, the Badger's not spotted, right? The Leopard 1 is relatively low and the bat chat is exceptionally low. I was just waiting here to try and figure out where this Badger is, right? And the Grill sees the very low hit point bat chat and says attack. Like, he says it before the bat chat pops. He's like, attack, I've got all the hit points. And I'm like, dude, there could be 3 tanks there. All that needs to happen is you get drilled by a Badger, a Leopard, and a bat chat clipping, and I'm suddenly 1 on 3. So as I go to support the Grill, the Badger pops. Now, the Grill gets screwed because, well, you really shouldn't be pushing in a Grill. Like, this is not the situation to push. Not directly, anyway. You can stay in contact with me and you'd be fine, but he's pushed and he's going to get screwed. Exactly as I mentioned. He's going to clip out. The Leopard's going to help, and yeah, he's going to get... And he's saying help, but I had to deal with a Badger. Like, I had a Badger come up on me, and I put 2 shots into the Badger while still getting across here to help the Grill. So although he does say WTF, I'm not really upset with him. I think he did a fairly good job and played a solid game, so I'm going to give him a thumbs up at the end anyway. And now it's all over bar the shouting. We get another track shot in. Always go for your track shots, boys and girls. Nothing better than tracking a slow TD. And the Grill does move like molasses. Great tank, the 62A. Give it a look. If you are thinking of grinding up that Russian medium line, you won't be disappointed. Also, if you want to click on the links down below, there's an Instagram feed there, there's a Facebook gaming page, my PUBG YouTube channel, my Twitter account, all that kind of stuff. I'm diversifying content into all those areas as well, because I don't want to go through the same crap that went on last week with YouTube, where they demonetized me and I had no access to you guys to let you know where I was going to be posting stuff. Thanks very much for watching. As always, look after yourselves and stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now. That'll do.